You are the reason behind your problem. It's you. The reason why you're angry right now is because you're a victim. So here's the quick story time. I've never physically met my biological father. So because of that, between the ages of maybe like my early teens, like 19, like early 20s, I had a really, really bad, I've had a ongoing anger issue around like my early teens, like 12, 13, 14, 15-ish. But then it didn't come into full fruition until I realized how bad or how severe this anger was until I was around like 18, about like 21, 22, around there. Looking back, it was honestly the most embarrassing times of my life, for real. Like, even right now, I'm learning to forgive myself looking back at those actions. I'm talking screaming, I'm talking yelling, I'm talking about outside having like heated arguments, constantly drinking and smoking. And this is around the same time frame as your college years. So I ain't gonna lie, I did partake in a lot of, activities that I shouldn't have taken. I was young, right? It's not an excuse, but I was immature around that time. Like, I'm thankful, but honestly, I'm regretful because it's embarrassing. When I was acting a fool, I was doing this in public. Like, this wasn't in the private confines of my home. I'm outside of hotels. I'm in parties. I'm bugging out. I caught myself going off on like friends, family, my relationships, all that. And it was a sense of power. Like I said, my biological father, never met him because he was locked up. He would send me notes and he would send me letters on, meeting me and how much he loved me. And I'm sick of his jail letters. I was a kid and I just balled it up and threw it away. I didn't take it serious. The reason why it hit me the hardest around that 19, early 20s stages, because that's the transition from boy into early adulthood. And I had no clue as to what I was doing. Like, I had no clue as to what was going on. And then I'm feeling this intense and immense amount of emotion. I'm confused at that time frame. And I'm just going through the motion. I didn't like school. I didn't want to work corporate. And now me being, in my mid-20s, looking back, I realized I was just being a little brat. I went in my way, and then if anybody told me anything to do, I just kind of dismissed it just to be rebellious, just for the sake of being rebellious. Which at that time, I realized that I didn't have emotional awareness at the time. Meaning, like, obviously I'm mature now, so I'm more aware of my emotions and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. But at the time, I was just saying no just for the sake of saying no, and I just wanted to kind of do my own thing. And in some cases it's good, but the reason why it was bad for me was because I delayed myself. I wasted so much time because I was hesitant at the same time. Like, because I didn't know what to do, I didn't take no leaps of faith. And because I was so frustrated at the fact that I was frustrated, that made me even more mad. My rebellion was a form of me trying to regain that power back. Now, being an adult, I mean, we're human, we're gonna have regrets. I've learned to forgive some parts of myself and to just know, you, and I'm referring to myself, but I wouldn't have the perspective that I have today if I honestly didn't go through the stuff. Now, half that stuff I genuinely did not have to go through, like some of the screaming and some of the like police getting called. It was just a lot, and I was very chaotic and very, very emotionally unstable at that time frame. The root of this is because I was a victim. So I'm currently reading a book called You Owe You by Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. You can find him on YouTube and Spotify. He has a podcast. He's on Instagram. I mean, he's killing the game in terms of motivational speaking.
Beast mode is I will not stop when others stop. I will not quit when it gets hard. Beast mode is I will not complain. I will not worry. I will not fret. I will find a way when there is no way. I will make a door when there is no door. I will create a window when there is no window. I will create finance when there is no finance. I will find an opportunity when it doesn't exist. But I will not be defeated. Kill an alligator, you kill it right after it eats. Because right after it eats, it gets satisfied. And it goes to a state like it's almost paralyzed. Some of y'all in this room, are you paralyzed? You had a little success? You've done what nobody else in your family has done, and now you chilling? Come on, you ain't hungry no more? If you accept the gift that God has given you and you operate in that gift, not only will that gift make room for you, that gift will give birth to other gifts that are not your gift.
And I'm only in the early chapters of the book, but I must say, if you're struggling with anger or whatever emotion, unforgiveness, whatever emotion that it is, he really tells his story, and he gives tips, he gives methods, he gives strategies onto how to reflect and review yourself and check your heart in terms of the things that you're doing for you to then move forward. You can go pick up a copy for yourself. If you don't want to spend a lot of money on the hard copy, you can download the Kindle app, like Amazon Kindle app, that's free, and it'll give you a cheaper price for you to just read the book off your phone. But that's the inspiration behind this video. The book You Owe You, something that you should really invest in, especially if you're a young man who, not even just a young man, but if you're a person and you're at a stage in your life where nothing seems to be going right, you don't know where you're going, you don't have no sense of direction, and you just want, you need that actualization that you're in your own way. And I think that book, You Owe You, that's You Owe You by Eric Thomas, I think it'll be a good start for you to get up and want to pursue the things that you desire. He said victimhood is when you wait for the world to provide you with the tools to move forward. That means you waiting for handouts. In the world that we got today, where everything's at your convenience, everything's at a hand's touch, you don't really gotta work for much now. Technology is ruling your entire being right now. That same method or that same way of living does not apply to your success. Meaning, if you, whatever goal that it is, whatever dream that you have, you gotta go after it. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. Nobody's gonna hand it to you. Nobody's forcing that bottle to touch your lips. Nobody's putting that blunt to your mouth. Like, nobody's telling you to have sex with this dude or have sex with that girl. Like, nobody's telling you this is you. And everybody has a story. Everybody goes through something. So if you're holding on to a select few people and using them as the blames, as to the reasons why you're doing something, like me, like Eric Thomas, like how you hear other people and other victims on social media is blaming things as you're a victim. In his book, he said, when crisis hit, I chose to be a victim. And in choosing to be a victim, I hurt myself. I held on to my hurt and I let it get inside me and take over. I was hell-bent on believing that someone else messed up my life, but nobody kicked me out the house, nobody told me to leave, and nobody was more hurt by my decision than I was. I chose to eat out of trash cans. I chose to take things further than it needed to go. And I resonate with that. I resonate with that so much because I chose to scream. I chose to have tantrums. I chose to not listen to nobody. I chose to not take any advice. And granted, some of the people weren't living up to the standards of the advice, but nonetheless, I chose to rebel. I chose to be that angry against somebody that I've never met in my life. At the time, I felt like it was this huge identity crisis, like I didn't know who I was without, and I've come to the realization that I'm not him, I'm not my mom, I'm me. And yes, their teachings have brought me up to where I do have standards. I do have a moral compass. But at the time, I didn't realize how much of an effect being responsible for your actions and being accountable for your actions, it really is. Whoever hurt you, whoever caused you to spaz, and even if you felt justified, you're being a victim. And you chose to respond like that. First things first, forgive yourself. The first thing you need to do is forgive yourself. Recognize what you did. Apologize to people that you need to apologize to, whether it's an ex-girlfriend, hoes, your family, parents, whoever it needs to be. Even if you no longer talk to these people ever again, and even if they don't forgive you, that's not your place. Your place is to find that means of reconciling the situation. You want to make sure that everything is good between you and the other person that you conducted yourself, or whoever you was displaying that behavior in front of. You want to go apologize to them. Outside of that, this is about being a man's man. And with being a man's man, because this is a biblical faith channel, Christian, being a man's man is seeking out his righteousness, right? For me, I had to realize that it's not about me. And the reason why I was angry is because I put an extra hurt on somebody that I never met before. And because I did that and I chose to do that and I chose to conduct myself like that, After going through all of that, and now me being older, like Eric Thomas said, I realized I didn't have to do all of that just to get my point across. I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to do half the yelling. I didn't even have to do half the talking. If I just responded differently or even just walked away and called it quits. But because of an abandonment issue that I felt, rather than recognizing it and seeing if I can get over it, obviously being young, I just had a tantrum. Based on the things that I went through, I'm thankful for going through those things. And yeah, at times I get embarrassed, but I'm genuinely thankful. And the reason why I'm thankful is because I found Christ. I received the gift of salvation, and because of that, there's a standard of righteousness that I now have to uphold. And within this righteousness, I have to let myself go, meaning I have to let go of the anger, let go of the hurt, and forgive those who have done me wrong, and love those who have persecuted and trespassed me. In that releasing, in that forgiveness, there's freedom. And that's true love. I'm no longer a victim to my anger, because all of that frustration and built-in pent-up emotions, I let go. Who I was years ago, I am no longer that person. Now, am I saying, do I ever get angry? I'm a human being. I get mad. People aggravate me every day. But no, I don't go to the extent of me screaming and doing all that extra yelling, because that's no longer the person that I am. My first tip to tell you is that stop being a victim. Forgive whoever hurt you and move forward. It was cool talking to you. I'm gonna catch you in the next video.